Prison violence has been a grim reality throughout history, with numerous incidents highlighting the extreme brutality that can occur behind bars. One of the most notorious episodes unfolded during the New Mexico State Penitentiary riot in 1980. Over a harrowing 36-hour period, inmates seized control of the facility, leading to the deaths of 33 prisoners and injuries to over 200 others. The chaos was marked by horrific acts, including torture and mutilation, particularly targeting those labeled as informers. This riot stands as one of the most violent prison disturbances in U.S. history. In another instance, the Attica Correctional Facility in New York became the site of a deadly uprising in 1971. Sparked by demands for better living conditions and political rights, the rebellion resulted in a 4-day standoff. When authorities retook the prison, 43 individuals had lost their lives, including both inmates and correctional officers. The event drew national attention to prison conditions and the desperate measures inmates might take when pushed to their limits. The Carandiru Massacre in São Paulo, Brazil, in 1992 is yet another tragic example. A riot broke out in the overcrowded Carandiru Penitentiary, leading to a military police intervention. The operation culminated in the deaths of 111 inmates, many of whom were unarmed. This incident highlighted the severe consequences of overcrowding and inadequate prison management. In 1996, the Calapalca prison in Peru witnessed a violent clash between rival gangs. The confrontation escalated into a full-blown riot, resulting in the deaths of several inmates. The remote location of the prison made it challenging for authorities to regain control promptly, exacerbating the situation. More recently, in 2017, the Pasquotank Correctional Institution in North Carolina experienced a deadly escape attempt. Inmates initiated a fire as a diversion, leading to a chaotic scene where 4 prison staff members were killed. The incident underscored the potential dangers correctional officers face daily. The 2019 riot at the Altamira prison in Brazil further exemplifies the extreme violence that can erupt in penitentiaries. A clash between rival gangs led to a 5-hour confrontation, resulting in 62 inmate deaths, with 16 decapitated. Such brutality shocked the nation and the world, emphasizing the dire conditions within some prison systems. In the Philippines, the New Bilibid prison has been the scene of multiple violent incidents. In 2020, a riot between rival gangs resulted in 9 inmate deaths and several injuries. The facility's overcrowding and the influence of organized crime within its walls have been long-standing issues contributing to such violence. The 2005 riot at the San Quintin State Prison in California also stands out in the annals of prison violence. A racially motivated clash escalated rapidly, involving hundreds of inmates and resulting in numerous injuries. The incident shed light on the persistent issue of racial tensions within the U.S. prison system. In 2018, the Lee Correctional Institution in South Carolina experienced one of the deadliest prison riots in recent U.S. history. Over 7 hours, fights broke out across multiple housing units, leading to 7 inmate deaths and numerous injuries. The incident was attributed to gang rivalries and contraband disputes. The 1990 riot at the Strangeways prison in Manchester, England, remains one of the longest in British history. Lasting 25 days, the uprising resulted in 1 inmate death and highlighted significant issues within the British penal system, leading to widespread prison reforms. In Venezuela, the 2013 Urabana prison riot resulted in over 60 deaths and numerous injuries. The violence erupted during a weapons search, underscoring the challenges authorities face in controlling heavily armed inmate populations. The 2009 riot at the Chino State Prison in California saw more than 250 inmates injured in a racially charged disturbance. The incident brought attention to the persistent issue of racial segregation and gang affiliations within prisons. In Honduras, the 2012 Comayagua prison fire, though not a riot, resulted in the deaths of 361 inmates. The tragedy highlighted the severe overcrowding and inadequate infrastructure of the nation's prisons. The 2007 riot at the Sabaneta prison in Venezuela led to 25 inmate deaths. The facility was notorious for its overcrowding and lack of control, making it one of the most dangerous prisons in Latin America. In Mexico, the 2016 Topo Chico prison riot resulted in 49 inmate deaths. The violence was attributed to clashes between rival factions of the Zetas drug cartel, highlighting the influence of organized crime within the prison system. The 2011 riot at the Mahara prison in Sri Lanka saw 27 inmates killed during a protest over conditions and alleged abuses. The incident drew international attention to the state of the country's correctional facilities. In 1999, the St. Clair Correctional Facility in Alabama experienced a violent uprising where inmates took control of a dormitory, leading to the death of one inmate and injuries to several others. The incident highlighted the challenges of managing high-security prisons. The 2004 riot at the Guayas prison in Ecuador resulted in 15 inmate deaths. The violence was sparked by overcrowding and poor living conditions, common issues in many South American prisons. In 2010, the Apodaca prison riot in Mexico led to 44 inmate deaths. The violence was between members of rival drug cartels, underscoring the challenges authorities face in keeping such factions separate within the prison system. The 2006 riot at the El Porvenir prison in Honduras resulted in 13 inmate deaths. The violence was attributed to gang rivalries and the easy availability of weapons within the facility. In 1992, the Anamosa State Penitentiary in Iowa experienced a violent incident where inmates took control of a cell block, leading to the death of a correctional officer. The incident prompted reviews of prison security measures. The 2015 riot at the Tecumseh State Correctional Institution in Nebraska resulted in 2 inmate deaths. The violence was sparked by contraband disputes and highlighted staffing shortages within the facility. In Papua New Guinea, the 2015 Beyond Jail riot led to the deaths of several inmates. The uprising was attributed to overcrowding and poor living conditions, common issues in the nation's correctional facilities. The 2017 riot at the James T. Vaughn Correctional Center in Delaware resulted in the death of a correctional officer. Inmates took staff hostage, demanding better conditions and rehabilitation programs. In 2008, the Bihać prison riot in Bosnia and Herzegovina saw inmates take control of parts of the facility, leading to several injuries. The incident highlighted the challenges of post-war reconstruction of the nation's penal system. The 2016 riot at the Quiriguaty prison in Paraguay resulted in 6 inmate deaths. The violence was linked to gang rivalries and the smuggling of weapons into the facility. In 2013, the Palmasola prison riot in Bolivia led to 31 deaths, including a child. The violence was sparked by turf wars between inmate factions, highlighting the lack of control within the facility. The 2005 riot at the La Mesa prison in Mexico resulted in several deaths and injuries. The violence was attributed to overcrowding and the influence of organized crime within the prison. In 2012, the Welakota prison riot in Sri Lanka resulted in 27 inmate deaths. The violence erupted during a search for contraband, underscoring tensions between inmates and authorities. The 2019 riot at the Acarigua prison in Venezuela resulted in the deaths of 29 inmates and injuries to several guards. The violence began when prisoners attempted to take a visitor hostage, leading to a deadly confrontation with security forces. The incident highlighted the ongoing crisis in Venezuela's prison system, where overcrowding and a lack of resources have created a dangerous environment. In Ecuador, the 2021 Litoral Penitentiary riot was one of the deadliest prison massacres in the country's history. Over 119 inmates were killed in a brutal conflict between rival gangs. The violence involved firearms, grenades, and knives, demonstrating the extent of criminal influence within the prison. Authorities struggled to regain control, and the event underscored the growing power of drug cartels inside correctional facilities. The 2016 riot at the Alcacas prison in Brazil lasted for several days, leaving 26 inmates dead. The conflict erupted between rival factions of the Primeiro Comando de Capital, PCC, and the Comando Vermelho, CV, 2 of Brazil's most powerful criminal organizations. The prison was severely understaffed, making it difficult for guards to intervene. Another major prison riot in Brazil took place in 2017 at the Anigio Jobim Penitentiary Complex in Manaus. The violence resulted in the deaths of 56 inmates, many of whom were beheaded. The riot lasted 17 hours before authorities could regain control. The brutality of the killings shocked the public and raised concerns about security in the country's prison system. In El Salvador, the 2004 La Esperanza prison riot led to the deaths of 31 inmates. The riot was caused by conflicts between rival gangs MS-13 and Barrio 18. Authorities later admitted that prison staff had limited control over the facility, allowing gangs to operate freely inside. The 2011 riot at the El Rodeo prison in Venezuela lasted for nearly a month, resulting in dozens of deaths. The standoff between inmates and security forces began when authorities attempted to search the prison for weapons. Inmates resisted, leading to a prolonged siege that required military intervention. In Mexico, the 2017 Cadereyta prison riot led to the deaths of 16 inmates. The violence erupted after authorities attempted to break up a fight between rival gangs. Inmates set fires inside the facility, creating a chaotic situation that left many dead or injured. One of the most shocking prison massacres in history occurred in Guatemala in 2008 at the Pavon prison. A violent confrontation between inmates resulted in 19 deaths, including the killing of several rival gang leaders. The prison had been operating under inmate control for years, making it difficult for authorities to intervene effectively. In 2005, the La Sabaneta prison in Venezuela saw a deadly riot that resulted in 160 deaths. The violence was one of the deadliest prison riots in Latin America, demonstrating the extreme dangers of Venezuela's overcrowded and underfunded prison system. The 2018 riot at the Monte Cristo Agricultural Penitentiary in Brazil left 33 inmates dead. The killings were carried out by members of one gang targeting their rivals, showing the unchecked power that criminal organizations hold inside many of the country's prisons. Another horrific incident occurred in 2019 at the Vadat prison in Tajikistan. A riot orchestrated by ISIS-affiliated inmates led to the deaths of 32 people, including prison guards and rival inmates. Authorities responded with extreme force to quell the violence. The 2006 riot at the El Porvenir prison in Honduras led to the deaths of 13 inmates. The violence was triggered by gang rivalries and the presence of illicit weapons within the facility. Overcrowding and corruption made it difficult for authorities to maintain order. In 2014, a deadly riot erupted at the Cascavel prison in Brazil, where inmates took several guards hostage and killed 5 fellow prisoners. The violence lasted for over 48 hours before authorities regained control of the facility. In Russia, the 2018 riot at the Angarsk Penal Colony No. 15 resulted in the deaths of several inmates. The violence was triggered by a protest against abuse by prison guards, leading to a full-scale uprising. The facility suffered extensive damage, and security forces responded with lethal force. The 2019 riot at the Ntabisinduna prison in Zimbabwe highlighted the poor conditions of the country's correctional facilities. Inmates protested against food shortages and inhumane treatment, leading to clashes with guards that resulted in multiple injuries. The 2003 riot at the Pollsmoor prison in South Africa left several inmates dead. The violence stemmed from tensions between rival gangs within the facility. The incident shed light on the dangerous gang culture prevalent in South African prisons. In Thailand, the 2020 riot at the Buram prison resulted in a mass escape attempt. Inmates set fires and attacked guards, leading to a violent crackdown by security forces. The riot was sparked by concerns over COVID-19 spreading within the prison. The 2015 riot at the HMP Birmingham in the UK lasted for over 12 hours, with inmates taking control of multiple wings of the facility. The riot was one of the largest in recent British history, highlighting the growing unrest within the prison system. In Canada, the 2016 riot at the Saskatchewan Penitentiary led to 1 inmate's death and several injuries. The violence was sparked by a dispute over prison conditions and food quality. The 2022 riot at the Turi prison in Ecuador resulted in the deaths of 20 inmates. The violence was attributed to gang conflicts, similar to previous prison riots in the country. The incident further demonstrated Ecuador's struggle with prison violence. In 2018, the La Talva prison in Honduras experienced a deadly riot that left 7 inmates dead. The violence was linked to ongoing gang wars between MS-13 and Barrio 18. The 2017 riot at the Maracaibo National Prison in Venezuela led to the deaths of several inmates. The incident was fueled by overcrowding and disputes over territory among gang members. In Peru, The 2020 riot at the Miguel Castro prison resulted in the deaths of 9 inmates. The violence was triggered by fears over COVID-19 outbreaks and dissatisfaction with prison conditions. The 2008 riot at the Belmarsh prison in the UK was a rare but violent incident. Inmates attacked guards and set fires, leading to a major security response. The 2019 riot at the Guayaquil prison in Ecuador was one of many violent incidents in the country's correctional system. Over 10 inmates were killed in a battle between rival gangs. In 2012, the Montero prison in Bolivia experienced a riot that left several inmates dead. The violence was fueled by overcrowding and poor management of inmate populations. The 2014 riot at the Tacumbu prison in Paraguay resulted in multiple deaths. The facility, known for its dangerous conditions, has been a site of repeated violent incidents. In 2017, the Tambo de Mora prison in Peru suffered a major riot that left several inmates dead. The violence was fueled by a lack of control from prison authorities. The 2007 riot at the Ciudad Juarez prison in Mexico led to over 20 inmate deaths. The violence was connected to conflicts between rival drug cartels. The 2016 riot at the Palmasola prison in Bolivia saw over 30 inmates killed. The violence highlighted the extreme dangers of the country's overcrowded prison system. In 2013, the Comayagua prison in Honduras experienced another violent uprising, leading to several deaths. The facility had already suffered from a deadly fire in 2012, making it one of the most dangerous prisons in Central America. The 2021 riot at the Esmeraldas prison in Ecuador resulted in the deaths of 15 inmates. The violence was another example of the country's ongoing struggle with gang control inside prisons. In Russia, the 2017 riot at the Irkutsk prison saw a group of inmates take guards hostage. The standoff lasted for hours before authorities intervened, resulting in multiple casualties. The 2019 riot at the Buen Pastor prison in Paraguay left several inmates dead. The violence was linked to conflicts between powerful criminal groups operating inside the facility. The 2022 riot at the Insane prison in Myanmar resulted in numerous deaths. The violence was connected to political prisoners protesting against the military regime, leading to a brutal crackdown by authorities. The 2023 riot at the Santo Domingo prison in Ecuador was yet another incident in the country's wave of prison violence. Over 40 inmates were killed in a battle between rival gangs. In India, the 2020 riot at the Tihar jail resulted in multiple injuries as inmates clashed with guards over COVID-19 restrictions. The incident exposed the harsh conditions inside one of Asia's largest prisons.